In the case of Thief, disappointment was the only emotion I felt towards this game. In the months leading up to its release, the game was promoted in an almost suffocating manner. Everywhere you looked, there was a trailer of this so-called next-gen masterpiece. I, along with many others, was swept up in the hype of a game that hardly had anything known about it, and I'm upset by the game's lack of creativity and life.
Here. We don't answer to the Baron's dogs!
I hear voices in the dark. I hear the call of the crows.
What do they say?
What do they say? They speak Orion's message. They sing and scream of a glorious fire.
Once the game was in my console and I'd put about 10 minutes of play in, I realized that I was trudging through a mess of a story. The game was severely lacking a plotline, or at least it's lacking anything that I would consider to be a plot. The premise is very bland in its style, a first-person stealth game with a character fueled by the loss of an old companion. Or so I slowly muddled out through this train wreck. Given that you're a thief, in an age in which committing crimes is dealt with by a noose around one's neck, it's pretty obvious that everything in the environment is set up for you to fail. The story of this reboot does absolutely no justice to the original, and to top it all off, the developers seem to ignore their artists. Thief lacks any of the luster or flair that this world could have easily generated to help whatever story that they tried so weakly to convey.
Eastwick City House. No one ever called his work subtle. Seems I'm not the only one making a house call tonight.
Looking past the pitfalls, Thief shows us how a stealth-based game should run, demonstrating a highly sophisticated and scarily realistic sneak method. Thief gives the player a strong feeling of the agility and litheness that Garrett possesses. However, the game doesn't make it easy for you by any stretch. As you begin to climb and wind your way through the city's dark alleys and rooftops, you begin to notice small, seemingly insignificant details like broken glass on a floor or a dish sitting on the edge of a counter. These small items that normally would just blend into the background will be Garrett's downfall if you aren't careful. The shards of glass will crunch loudly if you step on them, and any dish that falls to the ground will most certainly alert any guards or civilians nearby, causing all hell to break loose. Also, the guards are always on high alert and are brutal in their take-no-prisoners mentality. If they see you, they will kill you. That is, unless you can use Garrett's skills and stealth to escape their clutches. Here, we have this beautifully dark and gritty industrial city, full of scoundrels and miscreants, just trying not to be killed by the plague that apparently ravages the town, or the vicious guards prowling the blacked out streets. Then, you have this older, lone wolf main character that could be fleshed out way more than the straightforward trappings of just being considered a thief. The game had all of this beauty just sitting around waiting to exploit it, and pushed to its limits. But, instead of using this magnificence to convey a story, we're pushed through the sickeningly linear levels and monotonous cutscene button mashing, which trips up the pacing and causes it to fall flat on its shrouded face. Overall, this game has left me shaking my head and pressing the off button a mere 5 hours in. I felt swindled and taken advantage of by a gaming company that I used to think was a very reputable and dedicated team. Although the stealth mechanics and environment work well together, this game has still left a bad taste in my mouth and couldn't wipe clean this black spot on Square Enix's record.
Being one of the Baron's associates appears to be bad for your health. One way or another, he was going to swing.
Did you hear that?
We know you're in there,
Servant of the line.
You wait here.
By
I think the
order
shieldsman's
of the
coming.
Baron himself, Elias Northcrest, you are to present yourself to his watch.